Hello. Today we want to walk through our mood board, which visually explores how communities establish resilience and adapt to their surroundings while supporting each other in challenging conditions. Through these images, we sort of highlight the tensions between groups and communities and how they sort of show resilience in adapting to them and creating communal solutions in the face of adversity. Our first image is of a bustling city. It represents modern urban life where we are hyper individualized. And it sort of sets the stage for exploration. How do we form support systems in environments which are increasingly forming isolation and encouraging isolation? This then leads in to the ecological perspective through images like this, which include garden spaces in urban areas. These are spaces where people reclaim land for communal use, fostering environmental sustainability and also helps with social cohesion. This challenges the narrative that urban life is fragmented and isolated. Here on the right, we have a cartoon which, invokes some thought about the political motivations for community living. How is community living offering sort of resistance to individualism of society and normalization of the nuclear family? In the next image over here, it is an image of Mumbai's urban fabric. The image sort of juxtaposes Dharavi on top, which is the largest slum in the world, with Antilla, the billion-dollar house of India's richest person, alongside the rest of Mumbai's urban landscape. Here we can see, despite stark economic inequality, both communities function within the same city, which demonstrates forms of cohabitation and resilience to the very unique challenges a city like Mumbai faces on a day-to-day basis. Moving forward along the trend of socioeconomic and political issues which can cause conflict in communal living, uh, we can see the Kowloon Walled City. This was a densely packed, self-regulated community in Hong Kong, which had deep connections to the underground and the criminal organizations in Hong Kong. This was demolished a couple of years back, but it shows us an example of a densely packed and very self-regulated community in Hong Kong. And it is extremely interconnected, where through these images you can see on the inner parts of the city you might not even get sunlight. And people's houses are connected to stuff like restaurants, gambling houses, criminal dens, offices, cafes, and so on and so forth. And these people living in abject poverty had no choice but to adapt to their cohabitation and rely on each other for survival. And it is a very extreme example of collective resilience. Next up, we have some photos documenting Nora Sandigo, who is an immigration advocate in the US, and she helps undocumented families prepare for possible separations. Through these images, we are able to sort of capture moments of vulnerability between of undocumented immigrants. For example, on this photo at the bottom, we see a mother holding her child after she has signed papers providing Nora Sandigo um, guardianship of her child in case she's ever deported. And over here on the right, we can see Nora Sandiego holding a toddler, signing some papers about it. And these photos sort of capture how communities come together to support their vulnerable members amidst legal and political challenges. And while speaking of issues and legal and political issues, especially with immigration, we decided to look at the refugee crisis in the Netherlands. Here we can see Ter Apel, which is a refugee camp in the Netherlands, which is extremely overcrowded. And through it, we can sort of see the difficulties of integrating cohabiting newcomers. The improvised tents and shelters, show the urgent needs for policy solutions. Yet they also show the strength of the displaced in forging new communities and communal spaces despite their very, very harsh conditions. Over here is another photo signifying the huge, huge need for policy reforms, and people over here are sort of trying to get asylum and refugee status at the Embassy of the Netherlands. Moving on, along the same vein, we thought, what are some other undocumented groups in the Netherlands? And we saw the We Are Here movement in Amsterdam, which is a squatting community of undocumented migrants in Amsterdam who are fighting for their rights. This initiative sort of underscores the tension between exclusion and belonging, showing how people carve spaces for themselves even when they are denied legal representation and recognition. Finally, we reach some stills from the documentary Amsterdam Global Village, which captures the layered histories, cultures of Amsterdam. And we chose to end on this photo to remind us that urban spaces are not static, but are constantly being transformed by the cohabitation of the different communities within it. Cities are living things with change and change with who's in them and who's impacting them. And therefore, that's something we need to keep in mind while continuing this research. Thank you for listening.